what up with it? Y'all know who it is, man. Mr. 420, Mr. Mayor King Hebrew off top. You already know. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead. This right here is Operation Mockingbird. For y'all that don't know what it is, it's gonna break down what it is as an operation that the CIA did. You'll see it in there, man. Thank y'all for coming to the premiere, man. I was gonna do a live tonight, but I'm finna chill out and watch movies tonight, man. Kicking it with wifey. I do a live tomorrow night. But you still gotta be on the lookout for 3.0. It's gonna be my slow jams that I'm finna hit y'all with. 3.0, 3.0, 3.0. Alright then, man, get to the procedures.
Alright, let's go ahead and go back to Mark Dice. Mark, we got these clips. You want to go to the Michael Savage first?
Yeah, this is about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and now Michael Savage is probably one of the least controlled individuals of the mainstream media, but he again plays it off. And before we do that, here's a quote from an individual back in the 70s that was involved with Operation Mockingbird, Thomas Braden. He was the head of the International Organizations Division, which is an element within the CIA that basically implemented this operation. And he openly admitted after the hearings, quote, if the CIA director wanted to extend a present, I think he called it, suppose he thought this man could use $50,000, he's working well and doing a good job, he could hand it to him and never have to account to anybody. There was simply no limit to the money he could spend, no limit to the people that he could hire, no limit to the activities it could decide were necessary.
And then today we have the Army going around, for 2 decades we know of, buying off most of the mayors and police chiefs.
When you wonder, you look at Rush Limbaugh's $400 million contract.
More money than the show makes.
Sean Hannity's tens of millions of dollars that he gets a year. These individuals are not working class like they try to play it off. Sean Hannity's big shtick is that he's against the mainstream media. He couldn't get more mainstream media himself.
Let's go ahead and play this Michael Savage clip. Tell us what happened here.
Well, luckily, it's difficult again to get through to these people, so I fed this.
Now, this is what you gotta understand, man. These people have CIA agents, right, to act like they're newscaster people and they're in the news business and they're meteorologists, you know, all this stuff, man, but they really work for the CIA. Okay, they got people that's man, y'all see, man, this is crazy. So this was back in the days. Just think about how bad it is right now, right, with all the propaganda we get on TV daily. You gotta understand, propaganda is not illegal, right? It's legal. It's legal for them to feed propaganda to you. It's legal, right? So just think about how many fucking agents we got right now that's at News Channel 5, 6, and 7. Let it run.
Greener, a typical left versus right question, and then when on the air, I just simply asked him. He was talking about how there's a conspiracy, actually, to destroy the economy, but it was only the Democrats were conspiring. So I just thought I would ask him if he wanted to go a little deeper and what he could tell everybody about the Bilderberg Group's role in that conspiracy.
Here it is. Right here on the Savage Nation. San Diego, Mark, go ahead, please.
Let's talk about the Bilderberg Group. You're talking about conspiracies to bankrupt the economy. What can you tell the audience about the Bilderberg Group, and why isn't that mentioned ever in any mainstream?
Well, that's like talking about the Council on Foreign Relations. It's too esoteric for the audience. I don't think we have to go any further than Obama, Geithner, Nancy Pelosi, and Dianne Feinstein and Hillary Clinton. Is that enough for you? We don't need a Bilderberg Group. We have the Democrat Socialist Group that I just mentioned.
Every year the Bilderberg Group meets in secret, and Obama...
We know this. We understand it, but I don't want to talk about some esoteric group called the Bilderberg Group. What we have is a Democrat Socialist Group run by Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Dianne Feinstein, and the others. Why do we have to look at the Bilderberg Group for?
Because it's not only Democrat, it's Republican as well. If they understand they operate both sides of the coin, Michael, and you're keeping your audience in the dark, I think you're doing everybody a tremendous disservice.
Don't tell me what I'm doing. Get your own talk show if you want to do them a service. What good is going to come of talking about the Bilderberg Group, which I've heard since 1990? Tell me what good's going to come of it.
Well, why don't we expose them? Maybe they're violating the...
What needs to be exposed is Obama's hypocrisy, so that the idiots finally get it and stop him before he does more damage. That's what needs to be done. Not talking about some esoteric conspiracy group. Thanks for the call. You're 100% wrong. Yeah, let's not talk about who actually financed him or where Geithner's from or that he met secretly with Hillary there. They're the people that control the banks. It's all Obama. And then they'll give us a new puppet, and let's only talk about the new puppet. Let's only talk about Bush, only talk about Obama. They don't, oh no. And he insults his audience there, Mark Dice. He says, oh, they won't understand that it's too esoteric.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the esoteric conspiracy group, the Skull and Bones Society, either, even though President Bush made 6 appointments from his fellow Skull and Bones members. I mean, if you just look at Bush and who he appointed to key positions, the chairman of the Security and Exchange Commission was a Skull and Bonesman, William Donaldson. The general counsel in the Department of Homeland Security, Bush had nominated Edward McNally.
They look out for their people, as you can see.
But the issue isn't even that. It was founded, according to even the encyclopedia, from narcotics trafficking. And the entire CIA was founded out of it.
Yeah, and when you have...
How do you think that relates in 2011?
Bill Colby said that?
Yeah. He's on record stating that as a fact. Saying
Well,
Central Intelligence
since he drowned
Agency.
shortly after that, it's hard to talk to him about it. But
Of course,
I had never heard that Bill said something like that. He's a very sensible guy. It's certainly not true. There's got to be some kind of misunderstanding.
Do you have a comment on Operation Mockingbird, possibly?
What?
Operation Mockingbird?
What's Mockingbird?
It's a CIA operation that infiltrates mainstream media and
think
tries
it
to control
exists.
them.
As you
It's
describe it.
declassified.
If you describe it, I don't
Freedom
see
of
it.
Information
As
Act.
you describe it, I don't think it
Whenever you get a
exists.
chance, just look up Operation Mockingbird. It's declassified government documents.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal? We do have people who submit pieces to American journals. Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks? This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
It was chartered as an anti-communist program to combat communist propaganda.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, there were various covert operations to undermine communist programs, but I don't know anything about it. The CIA has been very hands-off with respect to media for decades.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
So I don't know what this is about, or whether it's talking about something in the 1940s or whatever, right? But it's certainly not anything that has been the policy of the CIA for a long, long time. I don't know what was going on in the 1940s or early 50s.
Have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the National News Services, AP and UPI? Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here, because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. And we're looking at that very carefully.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal? We do have people who submit pieces to American journals. Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks? This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
At CBS, we
See, like they really don't want to talk about that in the public spectrum because they know they're CIA agents that's working for the news.
had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, the ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them. We have quite a lot of detailed information, and we will evaluate it, and we will include any evidence of wrongdoing or any evidence of impropriety in our final report and make recommendations.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI? Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator, do you think that you named the news organizations in your final report? That remains to be decided. I think it was entirely in order for our correspondents at that time to make use of CIA agent chiefs of station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Another major story that we uncovered was the whole range of CIA media operations throughout the world. We did an analysis of these operations and the use of money, very large-scale money. It's thought between 1/3 and 40% of the CIA's budget. And I should say that that budget figure is the biggest secret that there is in Washington today. At that time, it was estimated that the 1978 budget was in the range of...
Now look, to some people this might be boring, but to those that want to get that information, soak all this up, man, because this is going into a hashtag. We are starting a information community. Let's go.
$1.5 billion. A more recent estimate by a military journal, not a liberal journal by any means, estimated that the CIA's budget today is in the range of $10 billion. At any rate, this analysis that we made of the CIA's media operations disclosed, among other things, that they deliver through CIA couriers ready to print or ready to broadcast news, and I put that in inverted commas, which is used by the media. And this is created by the CIA.
How often does the CIA manipulate the media in this way, plant stories, get their views in the media? Is this fairly common as a modus operandi for the CIA?
It goes beyond your, in the course of the past 30 years, it goes beyond your wildest imagination, the extent to which the CIA has gone to manipulate public opinion. If you include the MH Chaos program, which was $1 billion program of setting up proprietary companies, setting up student organizations so they could draw radical students in and do every kind of duplicitous manipulation of national student movements, press, propaganda, labor, extensive formation of labor unions, funding of major labor unions, with the objective essentially of manipulating the mind and attitudes of workers throughout the nation and the world. This was the essential tool that they used to destabilize Chile and overthrow Allende. It was, of course, making the economy scream, getting to the military officers, but it was essentially the truckers' union that finally brought the country down and justified Pinochet's takeover of power. 5,000 university professors they've co-opted. This is Church Committee revelations. I'm not making this up. It's in print. Church Committee's revelations. 5,000 university professors co-opted to help the CIA manipulate people's minds. 400 journalists in the U.S., including big-name journalists. Now, that's a big chunk of the prominent journalists co-opted to function routinely to help the CIA put out its stories and biases to the world.
There are a whole range of areas wherein the CIA provides briefings to selected journalists, and there are numerous cases where the CIA has, for example, published books, and several thousand books were published in English by the CIA, and this is documented in the Church Committee report. They set up 250 news services and wire services, some of which, not all, but some of which are still in the pocket of the CIA. And I think it's only fair to say that even some journalists who don't realize, there are some who are witting, but there are also some who do not realize that they're being targeted by the CIA when they come home from a trip overseas. They might talk to somebody and they don't realize, at least right away, who they're talking to, and then it turns out that they've been the source of information which was used by the CIA.
And then specific operations around the world from corner to corner to discredit this individual, create an impression about that situation, such as El Salvador, the famous white papers in the Angolan operation, which I note were, back in the good old days, we did a better job. Our white papers in the Angolan operation were based on very specific photographs and hard information of Soviet ships putting into Porto Ambuim in Angola. The white paper that the CIA produced for Alexander Haig to justify the intervention in El Salvador was a piece of trash. It was discredited by the right and the left and the center. It didn't hold together.
I should point, for example, to the stories that came out during the Angola operation, where it was discovered that the CIA was involved in a massive covert operation, which the Congress cut off when they learned about it. There were certainly a small handful, really a tiny handful, you could count them on the fingers of one hand, of the members of Congress who knew about that operation and the scale of it beforehand, and then they cut it off. Well, one of the revelations at the time that came out was that the CIA had created a story that was planted in the media that the Cubans who were in Angola at the time were raping Angolan women, and that they were really doing very, very gross things to these women and killing them. Well, it was disclosed, in fact, by John Stockwell, among other people, who was the former CIA station chief, or in charge of the CIA's task force in Angola, that whole story was created by the CIA station in Zambia and in Zaire, where they sat around a table and wrote this story, and then it was fed to a stringer, who then fed it to a news service, who then got it to the AP, Associated Press, who then picked it up, and it was sent around the world, and it was printed in hundreds of newspapers as fact.
But you can rest assured that it is at least very difficult for the American people, including us, to know what is true about the Sandinista government in Nicaragua, for example, or about El Salvador, or about Argentina and the Falklands right now. Our former ally of a month ago is now our enemy in this confrontation. In Jamaica, for example, and then this very specific, the Libyan hit squad, the mythical Libyan hit squad. We had a situation where President Reagan and President Gaddafi were confronting each other internationally. Reagan ordered our ship into what Libya claims is its waters, with the specific intention of either standing Gaddafi down or provoking an incident. And it worked. He shot down 2 Libyan jet fighter planes. And then Gaddafi was incensed, and there was a credibility problem. There was the president of the giant United States confronting this relatively small...
He a Jew, she a Jew, we some Jews. Wouldn't you like to be a Jew too? Only if you're in the bloodline. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and speak over this part, man. This the end though, but as you see, I hope y'all got a lot of that information. Like I said, the CIA has been a part of your news for a long time, and this was back in 1982 they was talking about this. So we in 2020. So what you think going on now? Everybody that's feeding you your news on the mainstream media probably works for the CIA or in cahoots with the CIA, right? So how can we believe what they telling us on social media? I mean, on the mainstream. How can you believe that when they're spinning stories to make them look better and to make situations look better, for you not to be scared or to actually think about what they really doing overseas and what operations they really running? So they spin it. You know what I'm saying? Why you think the internet is so deadly to them though? Because it's hard for them to spin it on her. They just got to take it down. They can't spin it on her like that. Mainstream, they spin everything you hear. Please don't believe it. On me. Operation Mockingbird, man. Look it up. It's your boy D, man. I'm signing out. Just watch these movies. Remember, if you ain't getting knowledge, you ain't getting nothing. I do this in hashtag information community. We out, man.